What's up, lore masters? This is a long-form breakdown of Borg lore. Check in the top right-hand corner to start from the beginning. Trust me, you'll be doing yourself a favor. Today we'll be finishing up the Voyager two-parter Dark Frontier, so let's just get into it. In the last video, I discussed how Seven is captured by the Borg Queen and the Queen's duality when interacting with the Voyager crewmen. I also discussed how the dialogue of the Queen doesn't make a ton of sense. Sometimes she seems to be an individual, sometimes she's a part of the collective. We left off the last video with the Queen stating that she feared reprisal from a species, that's why she was going to assimilate or destroy them. Stating that when that was never the goal of the collective never feared reprisal. And then she would show compassion by letting some survivors go. This was intriguing because compassion is something that we've never seen in the Borg before. When she's called out on it by Seven, the Queen never actually addresses it. And of course, it's going to be forgotten for the rest of the episode. After this, the next interaction we see is a discussion between Seven of Nine and the Queen. The Queen needs assistance for a new type of assimilation against a highly resistant species. At first, the dialogue makes you think that it is specific to physiological resistance, that the nanoprobes just can't assimilate the species. Which, by the by, nanoprobes are interchangeably called nanoprobes and nanites depending on the episode and series you're watching. I know some people have had an issue with that, but again, they use both terminologies. When asked to change the technology so that it can assimilate other species, Seven notes that it's changed so much that she wouldn't recognize it. This honestly is great continuity when you consider the technology of the Borg would be changing and upgrading at a near hourly rate. Every assimilation would mean a possible change to all technologies involved. However, the Queen wants Seven for her innate knowledge about the first target of this new type of assimilation. The Queen intends to assimilate species 5618. Humans. Confusingly, the Borg Queen describes humanity with an inefficient physiology, below average cranial capacity, minimal redundant systems, and limited regenerative abilities. But it is warp capable. My question: if humans are so inadequate, why are you assimilating them? I mean, it only makes sense if you want to bring cohesion and perfection to the universe, but it doesn't sound like humanity, as far as the Queen is aware, will make the collective any better. Additionally, the Borg collective is extremely short-sighted here in my opinion. The Federation is more than just humanity. While Earth falling would be a massive blow, after two different Borg assaults and the Dominion War either occurring at this time or about to occur, you would think the United Federation of Planets would have redundant worlds that are able to take up the mantle if Earth would fall. Which means that assimilating Earth would be devastating, but not destroy the Federation at this point. I also question why the Borg don't consider a different strategy of hitting other targets rather than Earth specifically. This all would make sense that they hyper-focus on Earth if the collective was a computer, which they may be, but the dialogue and portrayal doesn't make it appear to be so. The Queen also states that their assaults on the Federation failed, as I've noted. And I'm just gonna say this, you should probably consider sending more than one cube. But regardless of these issues, the Queen advises Seven she will need to assist in making a biogenic weapon that will disperse into the atmosphere and will take years to assimilate the planet. This weapon is so insidious that half of the population would become drones before they could even react. I'm also going to question this methodology. They have assimilated Starfleet personnel by this time, we know that, so they have to be aware of the advanced medical capabilities of the Federation. It's not unlikely that the Federation would figure out what they're trying to do. Though to be fair, Starfleet can't tell between Vulcan ancestry and Romulan ancestry, even though today I can pay $100 and see my bloodline back to Africa, so maybe the Queen's onto something there. Seven points out that this weapon is inefficient, and the Queen states that they have waited this long to assimilate Earth, so what's a few more years? She's not wrong, but this is a shift from taking what you want to having patience. Again, the argument between Seven and the Queen is pretty interesting into how the collective operates. Seven states that she won't help destroy humanity, that she is an individual. The Queen points out that she sounds like an automaton, just talking points. The Queen isn't exactly wrong here either. Seven of Nine is telling the Queen what Janeway and the crew have told her. And honestly, from the perspective of the collective, it makes no sense to want to be separate and imperfect when you can share your knowledge and make the galaxy better. Both sides think the other is just spouting propaganda with no value added. Huh. And then, we have yet more evidence the Queen is somehow different. The Queen tries to talk Seven into assisting in this process and states, quote unquote, "We all originated from lesser species. I myself came from species 125, but that's irrelevant now. We are Borg. Unfortunately, this sentence shows that the Queen has some level of self-awareness. She isn't Borg, not one cohesive unit. She is a part of the Borg. If I was assuming that the objective was to keep the Borg static, then I would probably throw this to poor word choice. A better way to phrase this dialogue might be, every life form within the collective originated from a lesser species. This vessel itself, the one you're talking to, came from species 125, but that's irrelevant now. We are Borg. But honestly, I'm starting to have doubts that this was ever the intent of what the writers were doing. I don't know that the Queen was meant to be a part of the collective. But I guess I could just sit here and drone on about all of these inconsistencies, but let's just assume, for now, that they meant it in a way of my rephrasing. Ultimately, Seven would continue to argue with the Queen, stating that she will not help assimilate humanity. Seven tells the Queen that she should just go ahead and assimilate her, and the Queen honestly calls her bluff. Once Seven shows that she does fear assimilation at this point, the Queen summons Seven's father. Well, the Borg drone of him at least, and with his help forces her into the alcove. Though before Seven can begin assisting the Queen, it is discovered that Janeway is using multi-adaptive shielding to try to save Seven. Voyager, in an attempt to save Seven of Nine, is utilizing the technology of her father to hide from the Borg. Janeway tries to contact Seven through her implant and was discovered by the Queen, as I noted. The Queen then utilized the information from the Borgified father of Seven of Nine to adapt and see the shuttle. Here's a question. Why didn't the Borg immediately adapt after assimilating the Hansons? The technology was something that the Borg had never seen before. It's the fracking reason they followed and assimilated the Hansons in the first place. And if the Borg still couldn't see through it, why didn't the shielding block the Borg cube when it went back online on the Hanson ship? Remember, the shielding of the Raven was off just shy of 14 seconds. And because of that, the Borg chased them to the ends of the galaxy. But if the Borg hadn't adapted yet, when the shields came back online, the ship should have been invisible. Borg idiocy aside, the Queen does ensure the adaptations can be seen, and now the shuttle is intercepted. Janeway modulates the shields, which somehow helps. Again, why did the Hansons not remodulate their You know what? Fuck it. While the collective still chases Janeway, the Queen lies to Seven. Again, I'm not sure to what purpose. Perhaps it's to ensure Seven doesn't try to escape, but lying feels like it's far off from perfection. Janeway and her away team beam onto the Borg vessel with biodampeners. You remember those things, the same devices worn by the crew in Part 1 when the Borg could see them, but now apparently they can't, but could before. Finally, the Queen is able to find the shuttle again. However, it remodulates and goes invisible. The Borg begin to fire blindly into space to find the shuttle, and ultimately they do. They capture it with a beam, and the Queen advises Seven that she was a failure, that she was not going to be the asset that the Queen hoped that she would be. During what I assume is about to be the assimilation of Seven, Janeway comes in to save the day. She tells the Queen that she should stand down or Janeway will destroy her. The Queen tells Janeway that her weapon won't kill her. She asks Janeway why she thinks in three-dimensional ways. She assimilates Seven, and after being hit, the Borg assimilate Janeway, and she returns. She stands down like it actually matters if she's hit with the fucking weapon, and even seems scared that the shuttle will fire on her location, even though the shuttle is caught and everyone on it should be assimilated at this point. The Queen then points out that they would all die together, and Janeway responds, better dead than Borg. The Queen, seeing Janeway isn't lying, orders the Borg to release the tractor beam, though for some reason won't let them beam out, because this all is making a ton of sense right now. Janeway orders Seven to disable the field, because if there's anything that says individuality, it's listening to the command of a person and following them because you have to. The Queen gives her point of view to Seven, saying that it's only one voice, one command, insignificant compared to the Borg, which apparently have a Queen that only has one voice and gives commands, but let's just go past that. Seven, deciding whose side she's going to be on, tells Janeway to fire on a piece of Borg tech and then smugly tells the Queen, our minds are one, indicating Janeway and Seven minds are one as they beam out. Now, as my tone probably infers, that entire sequence is completely stupid, but I'm going to pause a moment because there's something we need to discuss. When Janeway destroys the interface, it disrupts the Queen's commands. To quote Seven, it will disrupt her command interface. As I continue the breakdown of the Borg, I realize more and more the Queen is not a part of the collective, but the head of it. There are just far too many inconsistencies for it to be a continuity issue. I'm not going to be delving into this in this breakdown, but don't worry, we're going to come back to it. There have been comments that the Queen is a virus, or perhaps some species that found a way to fight back. I'd love to know your thoughts, because it seems clear to me now that this is probably the case. The Queen is the head, and the Borg are her subjects. But give me your thoughts. Back at the topic at hand, while I stated I'm not going to be doing a breakdown of the episode Dark Frontier, I do want to note the ending. From what we can tell, the standoff between the Queen, Janeway, and Seven happened on what we know to be the Queen's ship. That ship began chase of the shuttle that Janeway and Seven were on, and was ultimately destroyed when Chakotay fired on it. Remember, Seven's parents, or at least her father, was on that ship. Chakotay killed her father. The Queen did specifically point out that the Borg never killed her parents. They made them perfect. The Borg saved her parents versus killing them. Something we never see Voyager do. Food for thought. As stated, I think that a deep dive into the episode and part of the Borg lore has turned me around on the Queen. I sincerely don't believe she is now a part of the collective like we thought before. She's some form of leader at some level. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.